We've managed to connect a lot of the high-grade zones within the deposit. So we're sitting over 700,000 ounces at over 2.3 grams per tonne gold now at a 1 gram cut-off. So when you put that in open pit mining context, it really is shaping up to be a good-looking deposit.
Hello and welcome to Assay TV. I'm pleased to introduce Zeff Reeves, Managing Director of Tesoro Gold. And Tesoro are an Australian public company advancing exploration stage gold assets across Chile. Zeff, welcome.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about Tesoro today.
Yeah, certainly. And for viewers who are new to this story, could you give a brief history of the company?
Yeah, sure. So Tesoro is a single asset company. It's focused on the Zorro gold project, which is in the region 3 of Chile. So give people a bit of a feel for what region 3 is. It's the Atacama desert region, right on the coast, driest place on earth, about 800 kilometers north of Santiago. So we're a single asset company, as I said, and we've just announced not a maiden resource, but an updated resource at the Ternera Gold deposit, which is part of Zorro, and that resource has come in at just over 1 million ounces at 1.12 grams per tonne of gold open pit resource. So we're rapidly developing that project and keenly focused to move it along.
Excellent. Yeah. Let's get into the resource update then. Can you provide some more specifics about how it's going at Ternera?
Yeah, so the resource update that we just provided had more than 155 additional holes to the maiden resource, which was announced in July last year. So we added an additional nearly 450,000 ounces to what we already had there. So that resource has come in at a 0.3 gram per tonne cutoff at 1.1 million ounces at 1.12 grams per tonne gold. But importantly, all that additional data and the infill drilling that we did, we managed to convert a large proportion of that into indicated resource. So nearly half of it, or around half of it, is indicated at 500,000 ounces. And also we've managed to connect a lot of the high-grade zones within the deposit. So we're sitting over 700,000 ounces at over 2.3 grams per tonne gold now at a 1 gram cut-off. So when you put that in open pit mining context, it really is shaping up to be a good-looking deposit.
Yep. And how much drilling have you got left to go in this phase?
Well, we actually stopped drilling in early April, but we're about to kick off again. So Ternera is still open in all directions, and we've got significant growth that we can see in the deposit. There's a few holes in the resource that we believe will fill up with mineralisation with further drilling. But probably most importantly is that there's some significant extensions that are yet to be drilled out. So we've got some holes that are over 300 metres away from that new resource. They've got mineralisation in them. They've hit the right rocks, and we just need to come back and infill that. So that could add, another third of what we've already got on top of again. And we really don't know where the end of the Ternera deposit is. It's open at depth, open along strike in all directions. So we're optimistic. It's got potential to potentially double.
Fantastic. And what about the existing asset then that you've drilled so far, and the next steps to sort of de-risk that and move yourself forward towards production eventually? What's the plan there?
Yeah, so this resource has really been, not only the significant increase in ounces, but it's really demonstrated, I think, the robustness of the deposit. So we're looking at that now internally, and we're actually going to probably put some financial metrics out in the market in the not too distant future about what a operating mine will look like at Zorro. Obviously, with grades like that in an open pit and an operating environment like Chile, we're expecting quite an attractive cost per ounce production cost. So we'll get through that scoping study period, but really we're focused on expanding that Ternera resource. And we think by the end of the year, we'll have another resource upgrade, and that would potentially give us, I suppose, the critical mass to move through to feasibility early next year. So at this stage, the project's ticking all the boxes. The resource is, stacking up really well now. Obviously, the project's located in a fantastic place. We've got access to water. We've got multiple power options. It's right on the coast. There's no altitude to deal with. Where all the surface rights are owned by the government, so we have a very easy situation there, and we're close to a port. So the project's ticking all of those boxes really well for us, and we're just working through all of those options now to plug those inputs into a scoping study and continue to progress the project.
Certainly. You touched on quite a few items there. I wonder if we could just go into detail on. Firstly, this coastal Cordillera region. What's really compelling about the geology there? Why did you choose to sort of locate in this area? Obviously, Chile is very minerally rich, but that particular area.
Yeah, sure. Look, El Zorro itself is unusual in terms of the style of deposit for Chile. So it's an intrusive related gold system, and these systems have never been described before in Chile. And where the El Zorro project actually is in a traditional or well-known IOCG region. So up and down the belt near us are some large copper, gold and iron ore mines or magnetite mines, which are associated with the Atacama fault system. They're IOCG styles of deposits. But we're quite a long way west of that area, and probably about 10 years ago now, or close to 10 years ago, working in Chile, myself and my colleagues in Chile, we started to think about other potential mineralisation styles that could occur, particularly in the coastal belt. And it was around 2015 we came across this part of the world and had a look at it geologically, and we found our Zorro, and that basically was the impetus to put Zorro together once we'd locked the deal down to acquire those concessions. And since then, we've done a lot of work and expanded that. The initial project was only 1,500 hectares in size, and it's now over nearly 600 square kilometres, and we cover around about 60 kilometres of prospective strike. So we really see this as a emerging new gold district in Chile, based off this new style of mineralisation. We think we've got a major competitive advantage in looking for these things in Chile now. We know what they look like. We know what the telltale signs are for what's needed to form gold deposits in an intrusive related gold setting in Chile. And we're pretty optimistic about some of the stuff that we're seeing elsewhere on this property as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's very compelling. And just on Chile in general, geopolitically, things have smoothed right out. Everyone sort of seemed a little apprehensive of the elections end of last year, but actually the Boric's regime isn't nearly as sort of regressive with regards to natural resource projects as everyone had sort of initially feared.
Yeah, I think, some of the media coverage that we saw through particularly the English-speaking media was probably missing the mark a touch.
Yeah.
And, internally, we were very comfortable with where things were. The political system is very similar to the political system that operates in Australia in terms of a parliament and then a Senate. So that was sort of the checks and balances that were needed. And I think we'll still see some increase in taxation regarding some of the large copper mines. But look, that tax burden that potentially is being proposed is still going to be substantially less than, say, if the same mine was operating in Australia. So certainly, it's pretty well business as usual. It's a strong message coming from the government and from people in Chile is that Chile is open for business, and they rely far too much on foreign investment, particularly across the mining and agricultural industries, for that to stop.
Certainly. Okay, excellent. Could you update on the capital structure of the company? You seem in a healthy position at the moment for a junior explorer.
Yeah, so obviously that resource update put us in a really good, fairly enviable position. Currently, the capital structure is about just under 670 million shares on issue. The market cap of the company is around 50 million Australian. So we still think there's plenty of value in the company given the current share price and what we've just announced. And you know, our top 20 have been highly supportive. They've all been with us since the company was listed, and actually have increased their position, and that includes a number of Chilean family offices, which is always a good validation of confidence when the local money's sitting on the register as well. So look, we are in fairly good shape, and you know, we've got a pretty fruitful few months coming up, especially once we kick off drilling, and we're certainly pretty excited about some of the targets outside of Ternera as well, which we're going to look to test with the drill bit.
Certainly. So look, one thing that's always on the investors' sort of minds now is the ESG credentials, and of course, junior mining companies do a lot of this, but it's worth highlighting. You mentioned some of the things you're doing in terms of the proximity to the ocean, so you can work with seawater, etc. But what's your overall thought piece on preparing for this for the ESG agenda?
Yeah, so it's funny you should ask that, because we've actually just employed and engaged a lady in country to manage all of those aspects of the project for us, which includes social engagement with the social community and everything like that in the port town of Caldera, where we have some impact, but that's 50 kilometres from the project. Certainly the environmental advantages of using seawater as processing, so we won't be impacting on any of the groundwater reservoirs, which are highly protected in Chile. And, you know, as part of our scoping study works and feasibility and things like that, we're also investigating the use of renewables for that. But look, the other point to make is that we recently, or not so recently now, but last year appointed 2 new directors to the board. One of those directors, Christy Young. She's a mining engineer, but she has a very strong background in ESG and sustainable mining practices, and she certainly brings a strong background in that area to the board, which is certainly something that we are focused on in delivering a sustainable mining project.
Excellent. Okay, so just to summarise then for the investors looking at key milestones for this year coming up.
Yeah, look, there'll be plenty of news flow, no doubt. We haven't really stopped working for the last 2 years, as demonstrated by what we've been able to deliver. But certainly in the near term, we'll have some metrics out around what some financial metrics around what a gold deposit or a operating gold mine might look like in the form of a scoping study for the project based on the resource that we've just announced. We're going to be back on the ground probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks drilling, and that drilling will be focused at Ternera and also some of these really fantastic new targets that we're looking. We really do think that the project's got another 1 or 2 Terneras sitting in there somewhere based on some of the geology and some of the surface numbers that we're seeing. So we're pretty keen to get up and drill those. So we'll have constant drill results coming out and be looking to have another resource upgrade later in the year towards the back end of this year, which we think will form the basis of a feasibility study to kick off early next year.
Certainly. Fantastic. Well, Zeff, really interesting and busy time ahead, and we look forward to catching up on Ternera and how some of these new targets come together. So thanks for speaking with Assay TV.
Great. Thank you, Adam.